Sam Altman, the co-founder and ousted leader, will now return to OpenAI as CEO. We know that these negotiations have been going on in the last 24 hours, so it was unclear what that actually looked like, but it looks like there is a preliminary agreement in place at the moment. It looks like some of the finer details now kind of getting hammered out, but you should also mention it looks like the board is changing up as well. When you look at, remember, some of the previous members, you had Mira Murati, the chief technology officer, you had the chief scientific officer, as well as some of the other kind of experts in the tech space. Now it looks like we're going to get both Taylors, that's Bret Taylor, of course, D'Angelo and Summers, all in that new initial board, essentially creating a little bit more support for Sam Altman.
And for more, we were joined by Mandeep Singh of Bloomberg Intelligence. Mandeep, when we think about Sam Altman's place in the OpenAI world and its relationship to Microsoft, help us make some sense about what it means for him to be working at one company or the other at this point.
Well, at this point, given, there are talks about bringing him back to OpenAI, so that will be a second act for him. And look, it won't be the same. So clearly there was, lack of communication between him and the board members. The good thing for him is the employees have voted in his leadership, and that's where, it kind of helped the negotiation. But I can't imagine OpenAI having the same kind of leverage they had in terms of, the ecosystem lead, the foundational model, which was really the verb, ChatGPT, and the competitors have a chance to catch up here, both in terms of talent as well as the, improving the model.
Draw us a picture here. What is Microsoft with Sam Altman, and what is Microsoft without him?
I mean, for Microsoft, they will definitely have a bigger say in OpenAI going forward than they had before. So clearly, from that perspective, they have more influence. I don't think it helps them, bringing all the employees over to work for Microsoft, because Microsoft is a behemoth. They've got so many businesses. They just bought Activision, and, I can't imagine them devoting all their resources to building a foundational large language model. And for Sam Altman and, the guys who worked at OpenAI, the startup culture is very different from, working for a company like Microsoft. So I do see some cultural issues. And look, in the end, you have to build an ecosystem for a technology like Gen AI. And putting everything under Microsoft isn't going to help develop an ecosystem.
Mandeep, I want to build on those comments and refer to a report that you put out through the Bloomberg Intelligence team on the terminal today on the subject of replicating product success, because we actually haven't had a huge conversation around that yet. But if ChatGPT had not been as explosive out the gate as it was, maybe we'd be here talking about the pros and cons of, which team is strong at which company and which AI technology is showing the most promise. But the idea of being able to replicate ChatGPT, when you look at the teams at every company and what this future situation might unfold like, what do you see in front of you?
I mean, look, for Microsoft, if let's say Sam Altman and, the guys who come over develop a new large language model equivalent to ChatGPT in 6 months, what does it tell you about the mode of, ChatGPT? Probably anyone else could do the same, in terms of getting access to compute resources, the data sets, and really the talent pool. But I don't think it's possible. I do think, for something like ChatGPT, a multi-model LLM to come to the scene, it's going to take a lot of iterations. There's a lot of human feedback in building these LLMs, and that's where Microsoft may find, somewhat of a tough situation, because yes, they have access to ChatGPT and OpenAI IP, but they can't really port over everything, under Microsoft, and the IP still belongs to OpenAI, which has a lot of other investors. So from an R&D perspective, I think it may take a lot longer for Microsoft to replicate something like this, even with Sam Altman and all the folks who work at OpenAI.
Our thanks
and it sounded like you said with this. Oh, sorry about that, Mandeep. No, I was just going to ask about the time frame of how quickly they have to get something together here to avoid the lead that they already had been building.
I mean, it's all about ecosystem. And look, it took years for OpenAI, ChatGPT to develop that ecosystem. And as I said, there are 4 versions of GPT. We are going to 5. You can't just directly go from, initial version to GPT-5. It requires iterations. And that's where, Microsoft will have an issue if they try to do this from scratch.